could you do this? Trying not to look caught it gets better than this. When I was drowning, that's when I was screaming lonely. I stared directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. I couldn't leave you breathless, 'cause baby now we got back. Tell me why. That's when I wake up in the morning, say that we'll be together. I'll never ever.
Hi everyone, we're from Group 11 and I'm Nyoika Afifah Ashura, and today we're going to explain something about language called semantic, which relating to the meaning of words and phrases in language defined by properties like literal, emotional, and contextual aspects. Alright, imagine this. In your brain, you have a mental dictionary called a lexicon where you store the meaning of every word you know. When you hear or read a sentence, your brain scans this lexicon quickly to understand what each word means and how they work together. But words don't always work in the same way, so let's break it down. Some words have what we call referential meaning, which is like a clear picture in your mind kind of meaning. For instance, when I say the cat is on the sofa, you get an image of a specific cat and a specific sofa. The word cat here refers to an actual animal that you can imagine. But not every word has a concrete image. Some words like love, truth, or freedom don't refer to anything we can touch or see directly. Instead, they give us a feeling or an idea. This kind of meaning is called sense. Even though we can't picture freedom the same way we can picture a cat, we still understand what it means because we have a shared mental idea of it. Then we have words like that don't really give any clear mental image at all, but are still important in sentences. Take words like is, the, and of. These words don't refer to things you can picture. Instead, they help connect other words and show how they're related. In the sentence, the dog is in the garden, words like is and in are there to tell us the relationship between dog and garden. We call these function words because their job is to make sentences flow and make sense. Now let's talk about shifting reference. Some words like he, she, or they change their meaning based on the sentence. For example, if I say, he is the best teacher, you don't know who he is until I give you more information, like Professor Snape is the best teacher. He is amazing. Now you know that he means Professor Snape. So words like he and she shift based on context, and they help us refer to people without repeating names over and over. To put it all together, think of sentences like puzzle. We have words with concrete referential meanings like dog or sofa, abstract words that give a sense like love or freedom, and function words like is and the that tie everything together. Then, pronouns like he or they change meaning depending on the situation, which helps keep language smooth and flexible.
Today, I want to talk about an important concept in linguistics called semantic properties and how they help us understand the meaning of words. To start with, semantic properties are the basic elements of meaning that we associate with a word in our mind. By analyzing these properties, we can use why some words have similar meaning, why others differ, and why we use certain words to refer to specific things or people. Each word we know is stored in our memory as kind of mental entry that holds its basic meaning. By identifying a word as semantic properties, we can break down its meaning and get a clearer sense of how it can be used in different situations. Alright, let's take an example. Think of the words man and boy. Both of these words are similar in terms of gender. They both refer to males, right? They also share the property of human. Since both refer to humans, however, they differ in one key property, age. For man, the semantic properties are male, human, and adult. For boy, the properties are male, human, and child. So we can see that the main difference between man and boy is age or life stage. A person is called a boy when they are young, and then a man when they are grown up. To make these kinds of analysis easier, linguists sometimes use a numeric system, assigning numbers like 1 and 2 to each property. This method, called distinctive feature analysis, helps highlight differences in meaning. For example, for man, we might have adult equal 1, male equal 1, human equal 1, and for boy, adult equal 2, male equal 1, and human equal 1. Here, the numbers 1 and 2 show the differences in age. The 1 for adult in man shows adulthood, while the 2 for adult in boy show that he is still a child. Now, it's also important to remember that there's more to word meaning than just these basic properties. Other dimensions add layers to meaning, such as first, denotations. This is the literal meaning of word. For instance, man simply means an adult male without any extra context. Second, connotations. This refers to the emotional or social associations a word may carry. For example, boy might imply youthfulness or playfulness, depending on how we use it. Third, affective meaning. This is the emotional feeling that a word can convey. In some cases, man might give a sense of strength or maturity, depending on how it's used. Fourth, social meaning. This is the meaning a word takes on from social context. For example, calling someone boy could be inappropriate if used for an adult in a formal setting. In conclusion, semantic properties give us a detailed, organized way to understand word meaning. By recognizing these elements, we see how similar words differ from each other. This approach also shows us how words carry additional meaning in social and emotional contexts. Along with semantic properties, dimensions like denotations, connotations, affective meaning, and social meaning give us a richer, more complete view of language. Thank you.
Let's take a look at the concept in language that called semantic properties. Semantic properties are basic features or characteristics that give words meaning and relate them to other words that have similar meaning. Think about the word tree. When you imagine a tree, you probably think of a tall plant with a trunk that lives for a long time. Words like oak, maple, ash, birch, pine, and palm share the same basic traits, which makes them as a part of semantic domain, a group of words that have similar meaning. Now, to dig a little deeper, we can use something that called distinctive feature analysis. This process lets us break down each word by its specific traits to see what makes it unique within the group. Here's an example. Imagine a table where we list each tree along with its main characteristic. A plant has trunk, tall, long-lived, and has broad leaves. All of these trees share the first 4 traits, but when it comes to broad leaves, only oak, maple, ash, and birch have them. Pine and palm don't, which makes them unique in this group. This kind of analysis is helpful because it shows both the connections between the words and their unique details. For most of us, these basic traits makes it easier to identify and categorize things like trees. So, in summary, semantic properties are a group of words with shared meanings, and distinctive feature analysis helps us to see what sets them apart. It's a simple yet effective way to learn about language.
Alright, next, markedness in semantics. Markedness is a concept in semantics that describes how some words or concepts in a language are more usual or common than others. The more common ones are called less marked, while the more unusual or specific ones are more marked. For example, think about the word tree. When most people in North America hear this word, they imagine a basic shade tree like the one shown in the image. This is considered the unmarked or general idea of a tree. However, if someone wants to refer to a specific type of tree, like a pine tree or a palm tree, they need to use a more specific or marked term. Markedness helps us understand how people from different cultures view the world around them. For instance, in North America and England, a shade tree is the most common type. So, is the unmarked word for tree. In Australia, for the Tiwi people, the unmarked word for tree refers to a specific kind of cypress tree, like the northern cypress pine, which is abundant and important in their culture. They use the same word for tree and plant in general. Next, another example is the word slave in American English. When people say slave, it often refers to Africans or black slaves. But if the person is a slave from another ethnicity, people specify by adding more words like Hebrew slave or white slavery. In English, there's also a tendency to use male forms as the unmarked or default terms. For example, the male versions of words like lion, prince, or hero are considered general, while the female forms at the side like lioness, princess, or heroine to specify gender. This shows a kind of markedness where the male form is unmarked and the female form is marked.
Alright, previously my friend Shakila explained markedness in semantics. Next, I would like to explain markedness within a domain. Markedness within a domain. Another way of showing markedness within a domain is with a chart that places the more unmarked terms at the top and the more marked terms at the bottom. This kind of chart allows us to include various distinctions among terms. For example, in the domain of trees, there are trees with broad leaves, needles, or fronds. But there are also fruit trees and flowering trees, trees with brown bark and those with white bark, those with medicinal properties and those with other useful materials, like maple sap. Furthermore, these trees can be broken down into categories that are recognized by scientists as species and subspecies. Look at the example. In the chart, the domain is the set of trees. The chart shows the markedness hierarchy of trees within this domain. At the top level, we have the overall domain of trees. This is represented by the main branch at the top of the chart. Beneath the overall domain, we have two branches representing the two main types of trees, evergreen and deciduous. These are represented by the two branches coming off the main branch at the top. Each of these main branches then has smaller branches representing the different subtypes of trees within each main type. For example, the evergreen branch has a subtree for coniferous trees, and the deciduous branch has subtrees for oak and maple trees. And at the bottom level, we have the individual tree species.
represented by the leaves on the ends of the branches. These are the most specific and marked elements within the domain of trees. The chart shows the hierarchical structure of the domain of trees, with the most general categories at the top and the most specific elements at the bottom. This reflects the concept of markedness, with each level of the hierarchy representing a higher degree of marking or distinction from the elements at the next level up. To get a better understanding about markedness within a domain, let's take a look at another example, the domain of color. The most common unmarked colors are black, white, and primary colors like red, blue, and yellow. But there are also secondary colors like green, orange, and purple, which come from the combination of the primary colors. And there are also many shades of these colors like hot pink, mint green, and powder blue. The more specific terms are the more marked terms. Now, let's imagine them to be a chart. At the very top of the diagram, there is the domain of color, and then tearing it down are the most unmarked, the most general, black, white, red, yellow, and blue. And as you can see here in line 2, the colors are more marked, more specific, and more uncommon. Gray comes from black and white, pink comes from white and red, orange comes from red and yellow, and green comes from yellow and blue. Lastly, line 3 are the most specific, most marked, and most uncommon colors. In this representation, there are charcoal gray, hot pink, scarlet, pumpkin, buttercup, mint, and powder. We seldom use these colors, right? Therefore, they are put at the very end of the diagram. Okay, so that's all for today's topic. We hope you understand the material well, and thanks for watching. Bye!